Thank you for joining another episode of Black Father's Table. Tonight we're going to switch things up a little bit. I have one of my best friends in the world, Mr. Theron Hobbs, who runs the Dads Unbroken program, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about that. But he's going to give you some insight on me and how I started the platform of Restore, Renew, Revive and things like that. Thank you for having me, Theron.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. Allow me to interview you, so the people are going to find out who Randall Milner is.
Okay.
First, let me just say, just want to honor you. Thank you for allowing me to be here, and thank you for your resilience and for what you represent as a Black father. So thank you. So we're going to get started so you can find out who Randall Milner is. For those who don't know you, who is Randall Milner beyond the author and the father?
Ooh, Randall Milner. Randall Milner is a guy that grew up under some interesting circumstances. He's had to learn a lot about the seat of his pants through some trial and error, through some fire. That's a deep question because I don't think anybody ever asked me who am I besides the things that I do. I saw that, man. I become a grounded man. I'm grounded in my spirituality. I'm a family man. I love my family. An entrepreneur. I don't know. That's a very vast question. I think maybe, hopefully, over the course of this interview, I can dig into that a little bit more.
We got a few more questions that are kind of home in to kind of to get to that. So, but okay, we'll take that. So next, who would your kids say you are?
My kids now would say that I'm very present. I'm attentive. They know they can depend on me. And that I haven't left their side. Okay. Even during some of the roughest times, I've been resilient through a lot of situations. So I think that would probably be the if there was one word for them to say, it probably would be resilient.
Okay. That's good. What from your personal experiences, how does this help shape your ideas for this book?
Like I said, I grew up in let me start. I was adopted as a toddler, after going into toddlerhood. And my situation was actually pretty good. If you talk to anybody that has ever been adopted, I probably had the best adoptive situation that you could have. I was adopted by my aunt, my mother's sister, and her husband. And so I was surrounded by love. I was never abused in any kind of way. I always had a roof over my head, clothes on my back. I wasn't abused physically or emotionally or sexually, anything like that. So if you look at it from the outside, if there had to be an adoption situation, that would have been a perfect situation. But I grew up having a relationship with my mother. She lived in Atlanta. I was here in Columbus. But I saw her, at least once a month. Okay. My dad, on the other hand, he lived about 15 minutes from me. If that wasn't the situation, he would, call and say he'd come in to see me or come to pick me up and would never show up and things like that. And the ironic part about it is that he worked with my mom's brother over at Tom's Foods when Tom's Foods was open. So, it wasn't like he didn't know where I was or There was no contact or any of that situation. But he just wasn't around. And so I grew up in that situation. I had a father figure in the home. I called him Dad, Mom and Daddy. But Daddy worked all the time. He worked 2 jobs. He'd come home and long enough to eat and sleep. And that was it. So he wasn't really there.
Gotcha.
He provided, but he wasn't there. So there wasn't a male figure that I had to look up to in that way, that to nurture me as a little boy growing up. They had 3 other children, but they were all older. And so there was a missing piece for me growing up. I've always longed to be with my parents. Everybody I knew, my cousins, all my friends at school, they were with their parents, at least one of them. Okay. So answering the questions of why my last name was different than my aunt and uncle's last name. Why my mom and daddy didn't want me. As kids are cruel.
Right.
And they don't understand the nuances of everything that happened. So, and I'm sitting here, as a little boy, trying to answer these questions that I have no answers to. Wow. And so all of that, and growing up that way, even throughout my life. And, my mom, she remarried. And, my stepdad, he's a great dude, but I never gave him a chance to be a father. To me, I just felt like I was this kid that was by himself. I didn't belong anywhere. My dad had his family that he was taking care of. My aunt and uncle, they had their own family that was there, but, and then my mom, she remarried my stepdad and had my sister. But, to me, that was their family. So I was still like, I was just by myself. Wow. And but as I've gone through life, so that's the basis of this book is repairing fatherhood relationships, because I miss that. Yeah. I miss that growing up, even to this day, I miss that, but I can't turn it back. So the best thing for me to do was, and I just took that pain and I poured it into Restore, Renew, Revive, because, I want fathers to, regardless of what the situation is, don't lose track and don't disconnect yourself from your children. You just never know how that would change their life moving forward. So that's why I wrote the book, to really explain, what that is and to let people know that those relationships can be repaired.
Okay. So you went back, you were saying that your father lived within 15 minutes of you.
Yeah.
So did you know he was your father?
Yes. I've always known, my whole life, I always known who my biological parents were.
Oh, wow.
And that's the funny part, because, sometimes I wished, I thought about, would have been better if I never knew them. Because then that wouldn't be that space for me to know them and to see them, but not have that, what I felt like I needed as a parental bond with me.
Yeah. Wow. So you figure if you had not known, then it might have been a little less traumatic.
Yeah. That was my thought, but, it took, therapy, but therapy is really, going out and say, like, no, looking back, helicopter view, like I said initially, I was in the perfect adoption situation.
Yeah.
I was with family.
With family, yeah.
And I did know, it wasn't like, I got some friends of mine that have been adopted, and they don't know who their parents are. Right. Have no inkling,
so
what their bloodline is.
You were already in love. You were loved already, so it wasn't like they had to grow to love you. They already loved you.
Right.
So yeah, that was different. That was definitely a different situation for being adopted. That was the best situation of being adopted.
Yeah. Could have been a whole lot worse. I'm thankful to God that it worked out the way that it did.
Okay. So your aunt played a major role in raising you. What lesson did she give you that still guides you today?
I mean, she taught me a lot. Her and my grandmother, and my aunts. It was a village. Respect, being mindful, being obedient, and to be the best person I could. I mean, I look back, they only knew what they knew.
Right.
But I think she, under the circumstances, having raised 3 of her own children, having me, I'm pretty sure it was a challenge. Pretty sure from her end, there was a challenge too of raising somebody else's child. But I thank her, because, like I said, if it was another situation, I don't know how things would have turned out if it had not been family, if it had not been for her.
So you just said village. So how important was that village to you?
It was good. I mean, because like on Sundays we would all go down to my grandmother's house for after church, and so my aunts and cousins and stuff like that was always around. So I always felt loved. That was never an issue that I felt like I was unloved or anything like that. So, and looking back now, I think people probably kind of gave me a little bit more just because they understood that the situation that I was in without saying anything, but just understanding that I was without my parents where everybody else was.
What did fatherhood look like for you during the hardest moments of grief and depression in your life?
My kids saved me.
Well, hold up. Let's go back. I stepped a little too early, but
Okay.
okay. So that's a question I want to ask afterwards. But you went through a very unimaginable loss of your children's mother, and had to raise two kids while battling depression. What carried you through that season?
Looking back now, it only could have been God. I was in the Marine Corps at the time. It was in she passed in 1995. I was stationed in Japan. And the security guard in the apartment building she lived in killed her. From what I understand, it was, if I can't have you, nobody can have you type situation. So I ended up having to get out of the Marine Corps, coming back home, trying to navigate now that, I'm having to be a parent now, not to one, but to two, toddlers. Probably the scariest time of my life. Because now I got two people that's going to be depending on me now. So, and so I had to do that, and all while trying to grieve, but not knowing how to grieve. I made some bad choices with relationships. I got married to a young lady that I met. Shouldn't have done that. Hindsight being 20/20, I put her in a very, very difficult situation that she didn't deserve to be in. But I was trying to do what I could to create a safety net for myself because I knew this was going to be probably one of the hardest things I've done in my life. But we managed through, for a few years. And, when she and I split up, which is another experience that happened, and that really, really threw me into a depressive state, to where the point to where I was I'd started doing drugs at that time. I was drinking heavily. I was snorting cocaine, and I was on a downward spiral. Really, really fast. And just one night, I was getting high and having to be in the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and it was like, now I look back, I believe it was the voice of God asking me what was I doing to myself. And then I had to make some decisions. Ended up, just kept packing up and moving away for a little while, and just trying to get my head back together and get straightened back out. But yeah, it was a pretty rough time. But if it had not been for my children, knowing that they were depending on me, and what would happen to them if I was no longer here, what kind of effect that would have on them in the rest of their life. So, thinking back to that point, that they saved me.
So that was the moment you realized that your kids needed you. Was that your mirror moment when you said you feel like God was talking to you about trying to put it together?
Yeah, it was an initial piece of it. I still hadn't figured it all out yet, but it got me over that initial hurdle, and so then the rest of them, as difficult as they may have been, that first hurdle was the biggest one. Mm-hmm. It's getting over that, getting that monkey off my back, and thank God, without having to go through any type of programs, anything like that, it just took it away, and it was gone, and gave me an opportunity to try to build the rest of my life with my children.
Okay. Ooh, man, this is some good stuff, brother.
Well, it's good now. When you're going through it, it's daunting. Because you ask yourself, obviously, you're not doing the right thing, but how do you fix it? With no direction. I didn't have that dad.
Right.
To call and say, hey,
what's the reason?
I'm saying, what am I doing? How can I, what am I doing wrong to what can I do to fix it?
Yeah. And
having to go through that kind of stuff, and when you feel like you're alone, is very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. It'll put you in some dark places. Yeah. Put you in some very dark places.
Wow. Yeah. Was there a part of your story that was too hard to write about, but you ready to share now, or?
That's the thing, because Restore, Renew, Revive isn't necessarily it's my story, but it's the redemptive part of the story. I'm still working on my story, and even at times now there comes to be certain parts to where I have to stop and pull back because it gets difficult.
So right now we're still in the becoming stage.
We're in the renewal stage, going
Okay.
into the revival stage right now. I've gone through the restoration part, and that was, giving my life back to God, seeking therapy, staying in prayer, apologizing to my children, watching, my dad, my biological father, passed away last year. That sent me into, and that's really when I started writing the book, was after that situation, after he passed, because we were able to really put a lot of stuff on the table before he passed, and talk about a lot of stuff, and he had asked me for forgiveness, and that wasn't the first time he had done that, but excuse me, I forgave him, and then I had to ask him for forgiveness too, because I carried a lot of ill feelings toward that man for a long time. But having had discussions with him, I realized that he only knew what he knew at that time. And he acknowledged that he had made some mistakes that he wished he could do differently, but he was proud of me. And so that helped me out a whole lot, to the point that I didn't realize how much that would be, how therapeutic that would be in his last days. But it really, really was very, very therapeutic for me to be able to get that off of my chest. Without any anger or malice, because I had talked to him before, but I talked to him from a point of anger. The questions that I asked him were from a point of anger. It was always why didn't you, rather than what was happening for you not to.
Right. Do you think your journey helped you have empathy for him?
Yes, definitely. Because even as present as I am, I still don't get it right all the time.
Right, and there's no guidebook to life, no guidebook to fatherhood.
Exactly.
It's a trial and error.
Yeah.
And just leaning on your village.
Yeah. And so, I definitely empathize with him. And I miss him. I wish that, I know God, everything happens for a reason. I kind of wish that now he could see that I've written a book and that it was reflective of us rebuilding our relationship over the years, so it's kind of melancholy, but it is what it is.
But do you think if your father hadn't been present in your life that you would be the man you are today?
No. And that's kind of funny. People might look at me sideways when I say that. But I believe that God, when he says in his word that, he had plans for me even before I was conceived. So he already knew
what your journey was going to be.
What my journey was going to be.
Right.
And so I don't think that I would be sitting here in this position right now, being an author, being able to pour into other men, if I had not experienced what I experienced. So was it a hard time? Yeah. Would I change it? No.
Okay. So where did your strength come from today, and who do you lean on?
God. And friends like you. I got a bishop friend, and then I have my pastor now. So I lean on, and I try to just circle myself with other men that are moving positive in their life. Maybe not necessarily experience the same things, but some men that could pour back into me things that they may see that are incorrections. That's why it's important to have people around you that hold you accountable, that challenge you, because that keeps me on my road to where I need to be. So that's who I look to now, because my adoptive father, he passed a few years ago. My biological father, he died last year. My stepfather, we have a real relationship, but it's never been, hey dad type of relationship. Unfortunately, we're good friends, and I respect him and I love him for everything he's done, with my mom and my little sister and stuff like that. But it just never has been that type of situation.
So why do you?
I close them off.
Okay, so you think the engagement, him being engaged in your life and you having a relationship was because you put the wall up and shut him out. You didn't allow him.
I did as when I was younger. I did, because I never, as much as he tried to.
Okay, that was my next question.
Yeah, as much as he tried to. Even to the point to where, I think back when I was a little kid, when I was playing Little League baseball, my uncle nor my biological father ever showed up to any of my games, ever. And I remember one Saturday, he and my mom came down, and I had a game, and he tried to come to the game, but it rained.
If you could say something to him right now, what would you say to him?
Thank you, and I'm sorry. Because he tried. And I just, throughout my life, I never gave him an opportunity to be a dad to me.
Okay.
And, much as he may have wanted a son, but I never gave him that space.
So since we're right here right now, say into the camera to a young man who has a stepfather who's trying to be engaged and be a part of his life, say something to him to encourage him to change that attitude.
If you got somebody in your life that's trying to pour into you in that capacity, let them in. You just never know what type of impact it will have on your life. It's hard as it is in a situation for a man to come in and raise somebody else's child. It's even harder when you don't let him in. Give it a shot. It might be the best thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah. Wow. I know my oldest two daughters' mother got married. We were never married, and they had a stepfather. Mm-hmm. And when we first met, it wasn't like before they got married, but
right.
Now he's a good friend of mine. Mm-hmm. I mean, we talk once a month, check on each other. Actually, I talked to him a couple of days ago.
Right.
That man, I trusted with my kids. I felt calm and okay with my kids being with him because I know he would protect them. He loved them as if they're his own.
Right.
And even when at the times when their mother was giving me hell about trying to be engaged, mm-hmm. He checked her.
Right.
Instead of letting her do what she do, he checked her on that. He said, they have a good father. Stop treating that man like that and allow him to spend time with the kids. Mm-hmm. So stepfathers, give them opportunity. Yeah. Give them opportunity. Because my older two daughters' former stepfather, he wasn't a good man. He is a good man. And he helped me be a better father because I knew that I had his support. Yeah. And we got along, we communicated mm-hmm. to make sure my daughters were taken care of and safe. Right. And we're friends to this day, and they've been divorced for years. Yeah.
And it's funny because we don't use the word stepchildren, but my current wife now, she had two children. I call them my bonus children. Mm-hmm. And they're my son and daughter. And I just really tried to be, the best, and neither one of their fathers were in their lives. So I just really tried to be the best father to them that I could be, given all the circumstances. That's why, I say when you ask me, I wouldn't change anything because I think if I hadn't gone through what I had gone through, I wouldn't be able to pour into them the way I've been able to pour into them because they didn't have that father figure around either. Right.
So you understood.
I understood it. Yeah. So, it's step parents are important.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So if your reader forgets everything but the one thing from this book, what must they never forget?
With God, anything is possible. Regardless of what the situation is. There's a story that's in the book about a father who was separated from his daughter. And when he came home from jail, he had written letters to her every day almost, and he had them in a box. And so when he got out and came home, he was able to give that box to his daughter and let her read all the letters that he had wrote from the time that she was born. She's probably 5 or 6 years old at the time. Mm-hmm. But he wrote her all the time. And there's another story in the book about the guy that his daughter didn't want to really want anything to do with him. And he showed up every day. He told her he was going to show up. He showed up, whether she wanted to go or not, whether she wanted to take her out to eat, whether she wanted to go or not. He showed up.
It's hard.
And, there'd be a lot of days he went back home but over time, He was able to chip away at that to where she began to trust him again, and they were able to build a relationship. But he didn't give up, regardless of how she felt or how angry she was. He showed her every day and every week through his actions and the promises that he made that he was going to be there for her, and he was able to reestablish a relationship. So with God, anything is possible. It may seem like it's impossible. It may seem, like a daunting task, but just stay vigilant. There should be nothing that you should be willing to do to establish or reestablish a relationship with your child.
Absolutely, I can relate to that because my oldest two daughters, with all the untruths and issues with their mom and stuff like that we had, I've never ever talked negative to my kids about their mothers, any of them. But what happened was it was an issue, some conversation, some untruths told to my daughters, my second oldest. And so it went to a period for like 4 years we didn't talk.
Wow.
And man, but like you just said, the consistency, all of my kids, especially this one, Theron, I text her every day. I called her, even when she didn't answer the phone. That consistency,
right?
It took 4 years, and then my oldest, the same thing happened around the same time. I can't remember what actually happened, but we stopped communicating. And so, same thing, consistency. I kept texting and calling them, whether they responded or not.
Right.
I called them, and it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. You calling and you get no response, nothing. But they can't say that my dad, we didn't reach out to him, right, that I wasn't available to them,
right,
that I wasn't accessible. And Father's Day 2024, we had a family reunion here, and my kids were there. And I was hosting the breakfast that day. Had a Father's Day breakfast. It's family reunion, but we had a Father's Day breakfast and I asked the kids to come, everybody, if they want to say anything about their father on Father's Day.
Right.
And people came up and said things or whatever, and which was cool and it was good, man. It was good. Then my 5 came up. Baby girl pulled everybody up and they said something, but the biggest thing that happened for me was my oldest at the end, everybody spoke. She said, "Dad, thank you for loving us when we didn't love you back." Man, there was not a dry eye in the house, brother.
I can imagine.
But for 4 years, I kept chipping away. And I finally wrote them a letter and told them whatever I had done, I apologize. But on your time, reach out to me. And whatever it is, I'm willing to do whatever it is to fix it.
Right.
And so, and we've talked, me and Theron talk all the time and about everything, life, purpose, or whatever. And we talk. She actually called me, but I picked up the phone. She'll call me first. She said, I beat you to it.
Right.
And so, but like you just said, that consistency. You cannot give up on your kids.
No, ever.
You can't give up on your kids. Man, we made it to the home stretch pretty much. How does this book connect to your bigger mission, and what are you called to do next?
Connected to my bigger mission. The bigger mission is restoring our communities back to where it used to be. And I think that starts with us as being fathers.
Absolutely.
As fathers, if we can maintain strong families, then that makes strong communities. And strong communities lifts all of us up. So that's my bigger mission is to place the father back as the head of the household, to raise the children. Because I believe that is the biggest charge that God has given us as men, is to raise children. And I've seen what strong communities look like with strong families. And I think, we as black fathers, we get a bad rap. a lot anyways. A lot of, if you listen to the mainstream media, wherever the case is, we're absent.
We do.
We don't care. And but if you actually look at the stats, it shows that we're more active and we're more present in our lives, in our children's lives than ever before. But we just need to build that coalition of fathers so that we can lift each other up, hold each other accountable, raise strong families that's going to turn into strong communities, so we can put ourselves where we're supposed to be.
Absolutely. Think about it, fathers. A lot of the chaos that's going on in our communities and with our kids is because we're not engaged and we're not vocal. So we're going to change that. We're going to change that. This is our closing question. If the woman who raised you were here right now, what would you say to her?
Thank you. Because just as hard as it was for me, like I said, I can imagine how hard it was for her. To take in a child, even family or not, that's not yours, when there are two parents around. Wow. I'm pretty sure it was difficult, especially when you already had 3 children of your own that were probably looking like, why are you bringing this new kid into the house? So I can imagine that it was difficult. But she did it. And so I just, if one thing that I would say above anything else, thank you and I love you.
So ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Randall Milner. Where's your book?
I should have had that in my hand. Oh, might as well get the other one too.
So he has 2 books. Make sure you go out and buy this book. Buy enough to give away.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's a Restore, Renew, Revive by Randall Milner. And then this is one I just recently did the last couple of months, published just the last couple of months. Guess How Much My Daddy Loves Me. This was just a book, not just a book. This is a book that I did for Black fathers to be able to read to their children, show them an example of what love looks like. And we don't see a whole lot of books that look like us on the front with our stories. So this is for those dads with the young children, boys or girls that want to have some reading time. This book was written for you. So both are on Amazon. Guess How Much My Daddy Loves Me and Restore, Renew, Revive.
Okay, this is a Black Man Roundtable. Black Fathers Table.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got it. Black Fathers Table. So please share this episode with someone. And also, too, if you have a story, let us know. Where can they reach us if they have a story to be shared?
hello@blackfatherstable.com is the email address. Or just find me on Facebook. You can either go to Restore, Renew, Revive page or hit me up, Randy Milner. Social media, I am Randy Milner on pretty much all handles. And please, because we're going to be switching things up a little bit from the past episodes that you saw. Theron is going to be a co-host. So we're going to be tackling things a little bit different. Like I said, his platform. Go ahead and tell people about your platform.
My platform is Dads Unbroken. It's for fathers who are divorced or unwed, about fathers teaching them how to stay engaged in their kids' lives, about being present. And that's what my platform is about.
So together we're going to be able to help out fathers in any type of situation, to be able to make sure that those relationships stay strong. If you need to rekindle those relationships, you're going to make sure you got the tools and things like that to be able to get those relationships straight with your children. And so I want to thank you again. Thank you, Theron, for coming and doing this interview with me. I wasn't expected to get emotional, but it is what it is. I just hope that this message gets across to people that that it's possible to get on the other side of this thing and make sure that you have your relationship with your children.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, have a good night.